Hello and good evening. This is Diana Papilli, and this is day 54 of 100 days of videos. So earlier today, my sister posted a link to someone else's video where he talked about journaling. And he went a whole different direction from the direction where I'm going tonight. But I love to journal. I thought this is what I want to talk about today. Some days I have plans about what I'm going to speak about and I'll change it. Other days I'm thinking, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I knew for sure that I wanted to talk about journaling after I saw this video because I love to journal. In fact, I have been journaling pretty much all my life. Even as a child, I would keep a diary. And I think I started writing and writing short stories and journaling and diaries and stuff when I was probably 10 or 12 and possibly even younger. What are some of the benefits of journaling? Well, I still journal, and do I journal every day? No, but I journal a lot. And sometimes I'll go a long time without journaling. Other times I journal almost every day. But what are some of the benefits? Well, first and foremost, it allows me to process a lot of emotions. What comes to mind first is anger. I learned a long time ago that it's best for me to journal when I'm angry. Why? Because I'm not doing anything to anybody. I'm not getting into bigger trouble. And do I always do this? No, sometimes my mouth opens before my brain does. But a lot of times when I'm angry, I'll just shut up or swallow it or just fume quietly. And when I can, I will get to my journal and I will write about it. What is the benefit of this? Well, first, anger is a secondary emotion. I learned that a long, long time ago. Anger never is the first and foremost reason that you're feeling that way. When I'm journaling, I understand that something caused me to revert to anger. A lot of times, for me personally, it's hurt. If I'm hurt and I don't want to show hurt, or I don't want to be hurt or acknowledge that, then I will get angry. Not so much anymore, but still happens. So it allows me to identify what it is I'm angry about. And trust me, I type for my journaling these days. In fact, for years now, I've been typing. I think much more quickly on a keyboard and process much more quickly. I swear there have been a couple of keyboards I've come darn near close to burning up with anger. It really does help me to get that anger out and express it in a very safe environment where nobody's going to suffer the consequences of my rage. And then it gets me down to what is happening primarily. See, like I said, anger is a secondary emotion. That's the second response. It can be fast. The faster I get to anger, the faster I realize I'm hopping from that first emotion that I'm feeling and not even being aware of it maybe, and hopping right into anger. So it allows me to identify it, which is usually hurt, and then I can process the hurt. A lot of times I can process the hurt away. Because why are we hurt? Mainly because I take things personally. And once I have a chance to get over the anger and look squarely at the hurt, and nobody here is going to criticize me for being hurt. Nobody's going to say, oh, you're overreacting. Nothing like that. It's a very safe environment when I'm journaling. I can then realize, Diana, I don't need to take this quite so personally. A second thing, hi Debbie, good to see you. A second thing it helps with is another reason why I might be angry, again, second response would be to fear. I realize that I'm not a very fearful person, but that doesn't mean I don't have a lot of fears. Sometimes my fears I don't even identify. I think I'm not a fearful person because I'm willing to just go out there and risk things and do what I feel I need to do, etc. Where I get nailed is with fears that I don't even know I have, I'm not conscious of. It helps me to journal, and then I'm able to identify that I have those fears. It helps brings those subconscious fears to the surface, and I can process them. And I often resort to using acronyms, fear, false evidence appearing real. My favorite one, though, with fear is forgetting everything's all right. A lot of times, the majority of the times, the fears that we have are not going to come to pass. And if they do, then we're okay. It's all right. So that's another benefit of sorting out my feelings and journaling and being able to identify the hurt and the fears and then processing those things. As I said, and I use these terms exactly, it allows me to sort things out in the privacy of my own room or my own home and not sort out and take out on somebody else, my closest victim. And sometimes when I'm processing my emotions, that's who the person is, my closest victim. And usually the closest victim are the people we live with, our closest loved ones. And we don't want our loved ones to become victims. We want them to be cherished, not victimized. Also, in the process of journaling, as I'm sorting out my fears and sorting out what really happened, I'm able to identify where I made mistakes. I can then take a look. Where was my part in this problem? Believe me, if I'm in a problem, I'm part of the problem. But the good news is, if I'm in a problem, I'm part of the solution. So I oftentimes look for where I made a mistake and where can I correct that mistake. And if I can't correct a mistake, where can I make amends? If I can't correct it and make amends, where is it maybe the other person involved or the other situation? Where is it that's not part of my responsibility? It could be it's somebody else's or some other situation over which I have no power, no control. I cannot change that situation. It could be an individual, a circumstance, a business, whatever it might be. That allows me to identify it. And there's sometimes I think, okay, Diana, this is your part. This is where you need to correct it. This is where you need to make amends. And this is where you need to walk away or just let it go, because I promise you, you don't want to die on that hill, girl, because it's not gonna help. Just walk away. And that allows me to identify all through the journaling. But it's not just anger or fear or hurt or what have you that I can process. I have expressed so much joy and gratitude. Any of my emotions, they can be joy, sorrow, gratitude. I'm having a little trouble journaling right now about my mom's passing because I think I have more grief about it than I really want to acknowledge right now. So I'm kind of stifling it, and I know that's not good. But I also realize that because I'm very good at identifying my emotions, whenever I do stifle them, I realize, ooh, I need to be gentle with myself and maybe take this in little tiny bits and pieces, or otherwise it might be overwhelming. And so I'm being very, very gentle with myself and trying to take care of myself. Also, I feel like I'm trying to get another bout of bronchitis, and so I also realize a lot of times when things happen that are major events in our lives, and certainly losing a parent is a major event, that our bodies sometimes want to get sick. We go into future shock and want to get sick. So I also realize that I need to be very, very gentle with myself and not get too intense with processing my grief concerning my mother's passing. I realize that grief is a process. I've endured it many times, and it is a process, and it will allow me to deal with it as I'm able to deal with it in bits and pieces. But yes, I have done some journaling with concerning my mom's grief that I have, the grief I have toward my mom, but I haven't done as much as I normally would, and this is okay. Sometimes my journaling and what I'm writing that day turns into a huge conversation with my higher power. Other times it becomes a huge prayer. That's good too. Some people don't keep their journals. I do. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that I chose a date. It was on that date I went back and read many, many years of journaling from those dates. What I like about that is it allows me to look at the progress I've made, or sometimes the lack thereof. I remember several years ago went back and read many, many years past a date. In other words, what was I doing 30 years ago or 20 years ago this date? And sometimes I have nothing that I've journaled. Other times I'll read around that date, like, okay, well, I didn't have anything this date, but what did I have that was, I journaled a week difference from that date. Sometimes I find myself saying, oh my gosh, am I still journaling about that after all these years? Am I still journaling about this? Diana, it's time that you get past this. So for me, I don't often go back in my journals, but when I do, I find it very enlightening and very helpful. My goodness, this might be one of the longest posts I've had, but that's okay. I could go on longer, but I won't. Maybe I'll talk about this again in the future. But if you do not journal, I recommend that you find a safe way to do this. Maybe it's on your computer, maybe it's writing. A lot of proponents I know of journaling say it's better to handwrite, but personally not for me. And I recommend you try it. Make sure it's safe. You don't want anybody to be able to read your journal. In fact, when we knew that David, my husband, when we knew he was terminally ill and he was still feeling well enough, I said to him, David, I'm going to recommend that you go through some of your papers, because I know he would journal too, and that you either shred or burn some of those papers. I want you to, take a little bit of time to go through some things, and somehow if you don't want somebody finding them after you're gone, then you might want to destroy them or shred them or do, whatever. And he did. And the things that he left, he didn't mind that anybody discovered them. So I hope this is helpful to you. I cannot recommend journaling enough. People that I've recommended journaling to have always come back and thanked me, sometimes not for many years later, because they go, no, not going there, not going there. But when they finally do start journaling, they realize it's been immensely helpful to them. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.